Greetings and salutations. Welcome to this special edition of Ref the District. I'm the Stoner. Dan Snyder, he gone. Josh Harris is in. And we as fans could not possibly be any happier. You know, for as long as we can remember, Dan Snyder has told everybody, both publicly and privately, that he's never going to sell the team. He'd eventually turn it over to his kids, and they would take over at some point, and we'd be stuck with him forever. But here we are. Why would Dan Snyder give up his team that he loved ever since he was a kid and its absolute money-making powers of being an NFL owner? Why would he do that? We could come up with a list as long as a CVS receipt. But it takes more than just fans' anger to oust an owner of an NFL franchise. We know that. So let's quickly go through my top 5 list of the events that took place in the last few years that caused Dan Snyder to eventually put the team on the market and sell the team.
Are you ready?
If you like this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up, the like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the notification button so you can be let known when we drop content, which is, all the time. And by all means, at the end of this video, leave a bunch of comments about why you didn't like Dan, why you're hopeful with the new group with Josh Harris, and maybe some other events that affected you personally on why you wanted to see Dan Snyder gone. All right, so kind of what got this whole thing started. Let's go back to the end of the 2019 season. That was 20 straight years of futility, of 2 playoff wins. And another coach had been fired. Jay Gruden, he was gone. And then at the press conference, Dan Snyder said this.
Good afternoon. First off, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
I mean, the most unfunny man in America, let's be honest. But look, we were pissed, right? But what are we going to do as fans? It's just constant losing. But what can we do? We can do all the things that people have tried to do. Online petitions, wearing bags over our heads, chanting sell the team and all that. That doesn't really translate too much because the guy's just making so much money and he's the owner. And then boom, the bombshell series of articles in the summer of 2020 from the Washington Post alleging more than 40 women who were former employees or cheerleaders. They had been sexually harassed, discriminated against, and overall they just endured a toxic environment. These were bombshell allegations. And then that, of course, kicked off the Beth Wilkinson investigation, which had a whole lot of tentacles on how that went this way and that way and this way. But whatever, it started something. Because at the end of that, Dan was suspended. He lost control of the team. Tanya then took charge of the Washington Redskins, Washington football team at the time, maybe. Whatever. She took over day-to-day operations. That was the beginning of the end to me. Then came the whole stadium issue. FedEx Field is more than 25 years old. And the Commander's lease expires in 2027. That might seem like way off in the distance, but in stadium timelines, that's not that very far. So they've got to get a new stadium. The problem was with this whole expose from the Washington Post, now Dan's a little bit toxic. So the state of Maryland, the Commonwealth of Virginia, and the District of Columbia, they all turned on him. And they said, we're not going to give you any assistance. We're not going to give you any money. We're not going to give you RFK site. We're not going to give you this. We're not going to give you that. We're out. You're a bad guy. You're a bad owner. Once that whole money started drying up, that's the key word, money starts drying up, he had zero assistance in getting a stadium done. And if you can't get the stadium done, then the other owners who are counting on that money that a new stadium generates that you have to share, they're like, well, we don't got your back anymore. Why don't you go kick rocks a little bit? So now number 3. Congress comes calling. In March of 2022, longtime team ticketing employee Jason Friedman testified to the House Oversight Committee. And he testified 2 major allegations. The first one, Dan was keeping 2 sets of books. What does that really mean? First of all, they were accounting all the money that they were bringing in, and it's not just with the team, but they have to count money from the stadium, so concerts and soccer games and everything that comes into FedEx and all that the Commanders make. They were keeping an accounting of all that money. They were keeping a separate book, Jason Friedman alleged, the separate book that they were reporting to the other owners, which was showing less money that they were actually bringing in. That means less money going to the rest of the owners. That means the other owners are getting less money, and now you're taking money out of their pocket. I mean, now you're stealing from the other owners. So not only are they pissed about this whole stadium deal and this Washington Post stuff, now you're taking money from them. That's going to get you in even more hot water and even less backing from the other owners. The second thing that he testified about, this Jason Friedman, the team was holding on to security deposits from season ticket holders that they were supposed to give back. Well, guess what? That's just not crappy behavior. That's illegal. And when you do something like that, all of a sudden, the Federal Trade Commission starts calling, and they started an investigation. And oh, by the way, these people that you're not giving the security deposits back to, they live in Maryland, DC, and Virginia. So the attorneys general from all of those 3 municipalities, they said, we're going to put an investigation into this because you're ripping off our people. Now, in that same hearing or series of hearings, former Redskin employee Tiffany Johnston testified that Dan Snyder made unwanted advances during a business dinner. I'm not going to go through those details. If you want to read more about it, go online and search the Mary Jo White report, and it will give you everything. And by the way, in that report, all of the allegations that Tiffany Johnston made were sustained. That means they were true. Then Congress had no choice to get the NFL to go ahead and hire another investigation into the Commanders and their workplace and now their financials. Man, this dude's got everybody coming after him. So you got the owners pissed at him about the stadiums and the money that he's basically stealing from them. You've got the federal government doing an investigation. You've got 3 other governments doing investigations on you. You've got those states and Commonwealth and districts are not helping you to get any stadium. And you've got the Mary Jo White investigation. I mean, everybody's after him, but still, he wasn't selling until this last moment. The number one reason Dan Snyder decided to sell the team. It was an October 2022 home game at FedEx versus the Green Bay Packers. Tanya Snyder appeared in a pre-recorded Think Pink video. Think Pink is the NFL's campaign to promote breast cancer awareness. Okay. Every October, the NFL promotes this whole campaign, supports it. You know, you see it. You see players wearing pink cleats. You see them wearing pink towels, pink gloves. And it's an awesome campaign that raises millions of dollars for cancer awareness, mostly for breast cancer awareness. Tanya Snyder is a breast cancer survivor. She created this campaign some 20 years ago. She is the one responsible for starting it that is now spread across the entire NFL. Tanya Snyder did that, the wife of Dan Snyder. So now they play the video in the stadium of the team that she's currently running. And she was roundly booed in that stadium. And chants of "sell the team" came up, and they were loud. And that was the last straw. Tanya Snyder had to go home that night with Dan Snyder there and had to say, "You did this, Dan. I was just at a game at the home stadium of the team that I run now, and there were chants of 'sell the team' all over the entire stadium because of what you did, not because of what I did." 2 weeks later, Dan and Tanya announced that they had hired the Bank of America to help find a buyer for the Washington Commanders. And so here we are. Those are really the 5 biggest events that took place that got us to the point where Dan Snyder was forced to sell the team. And I'll be honest, I never, ever thought it was going to happen. I laughed at the people who kept saying, let's just keep saying it. Let's do these online petitions. Let's go to the stadium and put bags over our heads. Let's chant, sell the team. I was like, that's never going to work. He's not going to sell the cash cow that is being an owner of an NFL team. But in the end, it all worked. And now he's gone. And now I'll never say his name again. We'll never hear from him. We'll never see him. Good riddance. Go away. We've got Josh Harris. We've got Mitchell Rales. We've got Mark Ein. We've got Magic Johnson. And they may not win right away, but we have hope. And that's all we can ever ask for. I do want to hear from everybody on what they think of the reasons why Dan had to sell. Maybe how some of the things that he did affected you personally. Maybe you gave up your season tickets because you just couldn't stand giving this guy money. And now how maybe you're coming back. It would be great to hear all of those stories in the comments. Hit the like and hit the subscribe button. And here we are. It's a brand new day. HTTC. And as always, be a fan.